Hey everyone, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Miles Shop. Hello Scott out there at NASA, working at JPL Jet Laboratories. Really appreciate all the hard work you're doing, hopefully on the James Webb Telescope. Please feel free, sir, to send your next images straight to us for our viewers' viewing pleasures. Okay, so today, folks, it is all about the China 3D print bridge set. So here's what you need to know. This is a follow-up episode to the previous episode where we installed the Photo Etch bridge set on the Titanic that's available. So I wanted to give you a comprehensive look as best as I could at the China 3D printed one. This is the other alternative out there on the market that I would consider to be on par with the best stuff that you could possibly get. So what you need to know is, first off, I'm going to show you, well, you saw in the thumbnail a bunch of pieces that I have. Unfortunately, right now, you cannot get the bridge set, the wheelhouse with the bridge roof. And the reason for that is they're having problems consistently getting the roof to print correctly. So that's something that supposedly they're still working on, but hopefully we'll see it again soon. You can buy the bridge though, just this whole front piece right here with the stuff on the inside. It's $65 US. If you're overseas, it's $90. You can buy all this on the Titanic model China 3D prints 1/200 and 1/350th sales and show only Facebook page. That's the only place where you can get that stuff right now. So also in this episode, you're going to go ahead and see also from the thumbnail the B-deck bridge, and that the B-deck forward bridge set, I have that put away over here. I should be holding it up. I'm sorry. That costs $55 and comes separate, and it's $80, I believe, if you are a non-USA purchaser of it. This is all on that Facebook page. So what are we going to do in today's episode? Besides take a look at these things up good and close, I'm going to show you how to remove them from their print as best as I can. I'm going to give you some opinions and analysis on the whole thing. And then I can't put it on my ship because I'm not far enough along in the build, but I can set it on the B deck to show you how it fits. And I can put it up next to the Photo Etch version so that you could kind of compare the two just to see what you're getting at. I will tell you right away, what's my opinion between the two, between Photo Etch and the China 3D prints. Pick your poison. That's where I'm at on this. Do you like Mercedes-Benz or BMW? Do you like, or Porsche? Do you like Fender or Gibson? It's whatever your preference is. These are the top of the line items, and so there's pros and cons to both. So you really just have to pick out what you think is best for you. And I make some comments about that. Feel free to comment down below if you have any experience with these pieces, what you think, what your experience was, and or if you have any questions, I'll go ahead and do the best I can to answer those. All right, I think that takes care of it. Yeah, let's jump into it. Scott's itching to see this. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. So this is the China 3D print bridge set in its complete gloriousness. So here we have the front bridge. These are the little wing, I forget what they're called, the little boxes where you go out here and you stand over here and you look at the ocean, you stand over here and you see an iceberg. These are some of the detail pieces that go on the inside. Very, very nice. This is the bridge roof right here. So, a roof, the top. This is primarily what you're going to see. But on the inside here, what you're looking at is the detail up above the wood deck. And you can get this if you buy the sheets A and B, or is it C? One of the Woody's Model Works sets includes the detail for the bridge. But also you can see back in here you've got kind of the wheelhouse with the railing on it and the doors and all that good stuff printed in there. All very, very nice. Right here we have the two walls. They're walls. Actually, I don't think these are for the bridge set. These go down beneath on the B deck. Yeah, I think it's B deck there in the front, which actually, no, it does make sense because that would tie into this piece, which is going to be your B deck bulkhead. and railing. Similar to what you saw on the Photo Etch set I put together, they've put that railing on, this is the railing on the top, and then on the front there's this little cool little lip type of thing. That was a Photo Etch piece that I installed. And this is the back side. What's worth noting here is all the stanchions that I installed are pre-installed. They're printed for you. But then you've got all of this stuff right here. That's all to be removed. All of this is to be removed. It was put on here to A, print the parts, and B, I think also to ship it. That's why you have these big end pieces here. These come from China. China's another country. It's not the country you live in. And even if you do live in China, unless you're down the street from this guy, he's going to have to ship them to you, and they have to survive the trip. So that's why you have some of these big extra resin pieces. So that being said, this is all great and wonderful, but if you can't remove it from all of this stuff without, damage free, you might have some trouble, and you might be frustrated because you did pay a lot of money for this stuff. And please note, these are life preservers here, a gazillion of them. They used them later on in the ship. But yeah, you want to be able to get all this off without damaging it. It is fragile, so that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you go about removing these things? Let's talk about that. All right, here's your bridge piece. It's neat and exciting, so you're probably going to want to get to it first. And so this front wing right here, and then up onto the wall, and then this very small bulkhead, that's all one piece, and it goes all the way across and onto this side and over here. So you've got all kinds of stuff efficiently printed in between that needs to be removed. So what do? Okay, first thing people like to do is take clippers and go ahead and just start cutting. So I started cutting. Here's the thing. The resin's brittle. It will break and shatter. So you have to think about where you're cutting. The other thing is, and we have to have a talk about this, so this is your standard set of cutters. And as you can see on the bottom, they're flat. And on the top, when they come together, the cutting action, there's a V. So obviously, if I cut something like this, I'll get a nice flat cut on the bottom, and then on the top side, I'll have a V cut. It's important to understand a principle here. When these two things come together, yes, you're just making a flush, flat cut on the bottom, but on the top, you're taking material and bunching it up and out as the blades come together, which means when you make a cut, you want what is down here to be nice, straight, and flat to be stronger than what's up above. Because what will happen is, even though you squish this together, if this plastic up here is stronger, or the resin is stronger up here than the resin underneath, the cutters will move this way. That's why when you cut a fragile piece of styrene, it moves. Let me see if I can show you that. Okay, so like all of these pieces are pretty much loose already here, but let's take a look at like this little antenna. So as you can see, and this is a pretty heavy duty one right here, this sprue is nice and robust right up to our plastic piece. The plastic piece is smaller, there's not as much mass right there. So I'm going to take my cutters and I'm going to put the flat side up because I want a nice, precise, close cut right here. But when I make this cut, watch carefully. You're going to see the piece that I want move up. See that? Now, I still got my nice smooth cut, but the sprue didn't move and my part moved up. Why am I saying that? When we come back to our resin piece here, on the back side, for example, you've got a lot of little stanchions and these big, robust plastic pieces underneath that are the supports for printing them. You have to have these. You can't get away with not. Especially back here on this piece, you have these very fragile little stanchions and then these very large, robust pieces underneath here supporting them to keep them from breaking and during transit. If I take my cutters and I snap right here, yes, I'll get a perfectly flush little cut, but my cutters are going to move up. Is that brittle resin going to support and hang on and win the day? Is it going to flex and stay together, or is it going to snap off and go flying off into oblivion? It's probably going to fly off and go disappear in oblivion. So what do? All right, back to our bridge piece over here. We need to be smart about what pieces we remove. So let's start out on the end here. You've got this big supporting shipping piece and a very tiny thin piece of resin supporting this whole thing. But the rest of this is pretty robust. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little snip down here. And that caused this piece to come loose on me. In fact, so loose now that it's loose, this is the losing piece. This piece is not as strong as this whole bridge section here. So if I go in like so, and I make a little snip very carefully, if I can get in there, there you go, it's going to come off. Then we can go ahead and precisely trim that end off. All right, hopefully that principle makes sense. And clip this side off. And all of this doesn't have to be trimmed up like this. You can do it later. All right, things get dicey here though. We have all of these supporting sprues that we need to get rid of, and there's another layer in the front here. What are we going to do? Well, everyone's got an X-Acto blade, right? Go ahead, and this is the easy way. Get yourself a candle and heat up your blade. All right, once the tip is nice and hot, grab your part and just drag it right through. I'm going to heat this up again. You can only do a little at a time, but we're getting rid of all those little pieces. You can only do a little at a time because you lose the heat on the end of your knife, and then you got to heat it up again. Now the other option is to get a soldering iron and get it good and hot. And very carefully go in here and knock your pieces out. Some soldering irons have a have a knife you can attach to it. I found the blade, but I don't have the, they don't fit on my soldering iron. So you can see it kind of makes a little mess of things. You got to have room. So I'm going to go back to my knife, and I'm just going to snip those right off. No trouble. Now, on the back side here, I'll flip this sideways like so. You have to be very careful about what you remove. So we're going to get rid of those, and then this part down here looks like it needs to stay. So we'll snip that off. So they're removed. Now these sprues are in the way, but they've been removed, so, or disconnected. So you can come in here with your cutters and cut them out of the way. There you go. Now we're starting to make some progress here. So you need to repeat this method all the way around until you're ready to pull this loose. Let's go ahead and make that happen. Okay, we're almost there. So this, before anybody's like, Ben, don't you know? I do know. You can get these X-Acto blade knives that are supposed to screw into a soldering iron so they just stay hot all the time. This one's not compatible with my soldering iron. I should probably buy the cheapo soldering iron this goes to, so I just have it. But if you don't have this, you know, continue on with your X-Acto blade and a candle or a torch to get hot. So basically we should be just about done here. Run that through like so. See what happens here. we're hanging on still. I think there's more. Yeah, there's more in the back here. We'll come in right here. Yeah, I could feel it cutting. There's like a double layer, because we need to look at this part. How it's installed, its geometry predicates how it gets installed. All right, there, I'm holding up. There we go. So I see, oh man, I don't know if you could see that. Down in that corner right here, there's a couple of spots holding on. All right, so that means there's one over here on this corner. Okay. Voila. There's your Chinese 3D printed bridge removed with all the stanchions still intact. So, the first important thing to note is this bottom edge right here. This is going to be your glue point. And also, you can see we've got some little pieces still. So now, you can come back and sand all this off. Remember that resin is bad for you. Do not ingest it. You can actually wet this a little bit, the piece, if you want to minimize any dust flying anywhere. All right, so you'll need to continue to clean that up. You're going to have to very carefully clean up this piece right here. It's that bulkhead that goes on top of the ceiling. So that's a mark. But anyway, so here we go. That's our piece. It's loose. It's got some ash on it. So now we're back over here. What we got left? Well, we don't want to lose our lifeboat rings. These things, you know, I recommend you pop them off and put them into a little container so that you don't lose them. Then that frees up this entire space. This is a big support. We don't need those. We can get rid of them. So let's do that. We're going to pop all these off and I'm going to put them in a container and then we'll cut these off. All right, lifeboats are removed. So we're just going to cut this out of here, get it out of the way. Be careful coming over here. You don't want to lose anything. So you see we got, all right, let's make sure we're zoomed in. So now we're kind of in the same position we were before, right? We've got these very fragile but very important stanchions that sit flush on the deck. And then we've got the wings for the, I don't know what you call this, the boathouse? I don't remember what it's called. You don't want to lose these details. This is where the light's at. And then you've also been, if you look in the windows, he had to print supports up here for the roof. So how am I going to attack this? Well, I think the first order of business, oh, and then all these are little extra, these parts go inside of the bridge, and then you've got some little stuff printed down in there. I'm not sure what those details are yet. We don't want to lose those. And then these are our boxes for something, cupboards. Probably where they put the DVDs when you install the DVD players so you can watch things. All right, so what I'm going to start off with, I'm going to get my knife hot again. All right, hot knife, I'm going to go ahead and see how that's flexing. If you cut that, if I came in here with my cutters and I snapped that, you'd lose that stanchion. It would go sailing off into never land. Your next one, hot. Oh boy, very fragile. Now that's loose. Oh, it went off on me anyway. See that? All right, so what did we learn there? It's not just enough to have the clearance. And again, when I cut this way, I moved the item up on me. I should have cut down. And I could have used my knife or maybe even the hot soldering iron here There we go. Like so. Make sure your piece is removed. So let's not screw this one up, right? We want to cut it all the way through. All right, knife's hot. Oh, and it came off anyway. See that? Super, super fragile. All right, let's try this one. Third time's the charm. I guess the first one worked out all right, didn't it? Oh, that's broke. That's already broken. See that? So that's a print issue. So we're going to stop because we want to put a little bit of CA glue on there to salvage that. Let's go over here to the other side. All right, we'll come in here. More heat. All right. There, it was good and hot. Slid right across. The other thing, try the knife down here in the bottom. There we go. That worked out well. That salvaged that piece. Okay, so I think you can get the point. It's fragile, and we wanna not screw all these pieces up here. Let me see if I could track down the two that went sailing off here and repair this one in the corner here with some CA glue before we press on. Okay, I recovered one of the legs with the foot, and this one cleaned off clean. On the other side, I was much more successful. They all came off, and what I guess I learned here was I cut them just like you saw, and then I removed them with my cutters, the post, but by very carefully turning it out and away first, so that when it snapped and went sailing, it cleared the little stanchion in the foot. All I got to do is not bust those from here on out, right? Okay, so now we're looking at, and you know, you could cut all of this away if it's bothering you, if it's in your way. You could probably even snap it off. I removed some of the other little parts, so now we just need to work our way around, and I feel like we're going to be fine until we get into the middle of the little house here. Then we're going to have issues. So yeah, so some of these can move quick, like this, based on our little rule here. They're gonna break right off. And when I say our little rule, what's stronger, the piece or the support that you're removing it from, or the sprue? And the piece is stronger, so we're gonna get away with breaking these off here. So that goes relatively quickly, right? And we need to get them out of the way so we can get to down here and start running our knife through there. So I'm going to press on now with my little hot knife, just like so. And I'm going to make passes on both sides of these very carefully, because there's stuff in the way, to get all the way through until we end up into here. And actually, I can see inside here, so we might be able to get away with that. See that? We can push in here. We might be able to reach in here with our cutters and cut these out as we move forward. Just got to make sure we don't lose, looks like this little step here. This is part of the teak platform that goes around, and then, you know, that little cool box that's supposed to be there. But we want to get this stuff out of the way. So let me go ahead and do the boring stuff, and I'll come back with noteworthy information. Okay, so I snapped off all of the excess material here, and that gave me a lot of room to get in and work away at this piece. I'm working on the one on the right. I want to stop here and point out the issue I have now is it's going to be difficult to get to the inside here and to this part of the supports. And that's because of the way it's printed on the base right here. There's a little bit of a gap. So this is my critique and comment to all 3D printers all over the world, especially those doing figures. You need to take into consideration how you're going to remove these. I wish the print bed was thin down the middle here, and I wish that it was thin in here, so that from the bottom there was some way to cut this loose and remove this section with all of these pieces. That way you maintain the efficiency of the print by keeping everything spaced nicely, right? You want to utilize the space, but then I can get to it. I don't want to damage these pieces trying to get to inside of here. Especially because, now, I mean, I know where these go, but, you know, so I think what I'm going to do to not break things is I'm going to remove our storm doors. These are the shutters that go right down here underneath each of these windows right there. It's a very nice detail. And so if I remove all of them and then I remove these benches, I should be able to get, come on, focus, I should be able to get onto the inside. So I'm going to take my hot knife and I'm just going to start working away at the inside of these here so that they could come out, and then I'll put them in a container so I don't lose them. Pressing on. Alright, so I've got all the furniture detail and the little extra parts removed except for right in the middle here, those parts. So it would be nice to separate this stuff at this point. So I'm just going to kind of score this a little bit. I mean, it's good and thick resin. Those of you who have this know. I want to cut it, and I want it to break, you know, in half in a way that's going to work. So here goes nothing. We're just going to, boom, there we go. So that, you can see on this side we had cut loose, and it came right off nicely. Alright, so let's see, roll the dice here. Boom. Hey, that worked out. Alright, we've got two halves. So now we could start picking away, and I'm going to cut this away so I can get into here. This whole thing, okay, so this is super fragile. And it looks like I lost a stanchion right there during that process. I bumped it. I'm going to have to look and see if I could find one. But this is really a weak point on the 3D print. And what is the solution? The solution is Photo Etch. These parts should be made out of Photo Etch, and you just install it after the fact, and you don't have this problem. But that's not how these are made. So we're going to press on. So you can see here I've removed these parts already, and I've cut along the front. So I think if I come in here, yeah, very carefully can get rid of all that stuff. And alright, now we're exposing a lot of these pieces that are on the inside. And they're just barely hanging on in here. As you can see, it's all just like so. Oh yeah, it wants to come out. So let's cut that loose. So something, I can kind of see it, is connected inside here on the right. So we'll have to proceed cautiously. We need this piece right here. Or at least we need that cut loose and get rid of these parts. Yeah, okay, so it's molded. Alright, so this step, located right here, is connected to that wall, which is nice. I'm not sure what's happening further in, so we're going to have to remove some of these supports. Okay, there we go. It just came loose. It slid out. All right. what we have here. There's the detail on the inside. Very nice. He even did the can you see the mold lines on the ceiling for the wooden ceiling right there? Clean this up. You're never going to see this again, but there it is. It's molded. I mean, just beautiful. Very detailed. It's going to be very difficult to see this stuff once it's installed on the ship, but we're there. Okay, so now all you got to do is that again. So let's get the second one knocked out. All right, we got our two pieces over here separated. I kind of gave up on, salvaging the stanchions. They're so fragile, and it's a little disappointing that they are so fragile. I guess that's all there is to it for right now. But I want to talk about the fit. So so this is my boat deck. I am not ready to install this yet, so I can't put it on the ship, and the plan is not to use the 3D printed parts anyway, but I want to talk about how they fit. So first thing I want to point out, when I flip it over here, I've got some damage. This is my fault right here. This is from the soldering iron shot I took earlier in the video. It caused that to heat up and get messed up, and I just haven't repaired it yet. But how does it fit? So initially, the good news is, so this is your glue edge right all along here. That's where you're going to slap the glue on, and it drops on here like so, and it fits pretty good. Let me show you what I mean. If we flip it over here, I may have to change the camera angle, but it drops on about like so. It's real close. Sorry. There you go, like that. It's really close. In fact, I think if you start out with some CA glue in the front and worked your way along here, you'd do pretty good. But I wouldn't do that. If you're building this, don't do this. Do not place the bridge on here first. Make sure you start out with these pieces. They do fit nicely into position. But the reason I say start out with these pieces is they lock in and you can't screw it up. They only go in one spot. The bridge can move left and right a little bit if you're not careful. And you want to make sure that they butt up right there perfectly like they're supposed to. So it's really important that you get that right. All right, and then once you do that with both pieces, and see what I mean, I'm just setting it on. There's a gap there, but this whole thing has to be glued into place. You're left with very, very nice results. I mean, the detail on these things, again, is outstanding. Absolutely top-notch. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, so the boathouse, you know, it would drop down on here like this. And the next deck down, you'd have your bulkhead. This is for B deck. There's 3 beams that get attached up here. Those are not included. Those are not 3D printed. You'll have to scratch build those to connect the 2 deck pieces together. Down the road, I may cut this out and install it, and just to see how well it fits on the actual kit piece. I'm just not that far yet. What I do want to do, though, is paint this thing. Quick tutorial on painting 3D printed parts. So in the past, I've just been washing these up with some rubbing alcohol and then hitting it with primer and then off to the races. Turns out you're not supposed to do that. You are supposed to start off by cleaning the part, but then they need to get a coat of Mr. Metal Primer or metal primer, whatever your choice of metal primer is. You cover the whole thing with that first. Then you prime it with regular primer. Once the regular primer's on, then you got to paint it with the color that you want. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that real quick, see how it looks. Okay, so here we are back in action. This is one of the little wing houses. I just did a basic paint job on this thing, gave it a little bit of a wash in the details so that you could see what's going on with it. I painted the little life preserver. It's super detailed. It looks great. It looks exactly like if you guys have checked out the game Titanic, Honor and Glory. Everything on the inside matches that, which is supposed to match the ship. It's a quick paint job. I might not have these lights right. I got to work on, I'll look all that stuff up. I just wanted something to be here so that you could see what the detail gets you. Here, of course, is the main bridge. I did the railing. Now, on the front, I had a little bit of trouble painting the window frames, but I'm not sure if you're supposed to take aftermarket frames and drop them in there or not. It looked like they could. If you wanted to put glass in there, it looks like you're going to have to do it from the back side. This is the railing. Here's your little step. Here's your window there. I went ahead and threw the details on the inside here. I didn't really give it a wash or anything, but you know, there's your stuff. It's really sharp. And then on the bottom here, this is not painted. Yours should not be painted either. I gave this an etch with the metal etching primer. This is where you're going to put your glue, and you want it to stick to the ship. So you would leave this exposed as well. So yeah, it's super nice, and I apologize for the quick generic down and dirty paint job, but it's just, the idea is to give you a look at things. So we'll put this like so. This would be like so approximately, and then you'd move this over, and then this one would be about like so, and you can see there's a gap because you have to push this in all the way, and you would have to fit it. So again, for installation, I would put the two wing houses on first, and then I would fix the middle part, and I think it looks very, very nice. So one other comment here, I just want, in case somebody saw this, I'm not sure if it's showing up or not, but there are print lines in the front of this. That should not be the case of yours. My understanding is this is a very early test print that I was sent. This came out way, way, way back at the beginning of when the Titanic was even released, or whenever they did this. So yours should not have print lines. You should have a nice smooth edge on the front here. Let's take a quick look at this. I can hold this up next to the Photo Etch one that we just installed in my client's build the other day. We'll do that real quick. Okay, once again, this is the Photo Etch pieces from Woody's Model Works, and then it doesn't have, we got work to do still, but this is, I'm going to do this here. This is the 3D printed one. I guess that's a good way to look at it, right? I have details still to install and do. That's why we see some differences, but, you know, real nice. I mean, it's basically the same thing. So I think the big thing, the big comment is going to be on, because someone said which one do you like better, and it's not that I like one more than the other. It would simply be pick your poison. This one, the way that it fits together, you're going to have to do some filling right here, and you're going to have to do a lot of painting, and you're going to have, this piece worked out okay, but like on your wings, you're going to have difficulty with the details and getting them to not break off. I did do a little wash on this, by the way, to help those details pop out. The Photo Etch looks fantastic, looks scale thick, looks fantastic, but you got to do a bunch of work to the kit to get it to fit correctly. This is designed to go on the stock kit. Just slap it right on, and you're ready to go, ready to rock and roll. But you might take issue with some things. I don't know. It's just they're different. The details, outstanding. It's just going to be a matter of what is your preference. I definitely spent way more time getting the Photo Etch ready to go than I did this. These even cutting everything out and going nice and slow, I had this all ready to go and primed up in about a quarter of the time that it took to get with the Photo Etch. But I'm not installing this, and I don't know what kind of trouble I'll run into, making this seam match and everything be perfect there. So really it's just a matter of picking your poison. But like I said, the China 3D print parts, outstanding. Woody's Model Works Photo Etch bridge set, outstanding. Do you want a Mercedes or BMW? Fender or Gibson? Martin or Taylor? Airbus or Boeing? You got to decide. It's just your personal preference. So anyway, I think that's going to be it for now. Yeah, this is a short one. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time.